with another episode of Blast of Strangeness PodCast, episode 18, part 1. So you read the title of the video and you are correct. Also, this podcast is also being recorded in real time. It's a live stream, so episode 18, this is part 1. So, part 1 of this podcast, part 1 is right now, right here. So, there are, how would I say this? There are people who out there who think that sorry. Shit. Okay. So what I was saying was there are people out there who don't actually think that mental health issues and conditions and mental illness actually exists. Yeah, some people don't actually think that type of stuff does actually exist out in the real world. It actually does exist. Well, there are people out there who don't think that it actually exists at all. They think that, it doesn't exist, and they just think, it doesn't exist. It's never going to happen to me or anyone in my family or in their own family. Well, you know what? It does. And you know what? It's nothing to be ashamed of. You know, people can't help the fact that they have mental health problems and conditions such as anxiety, other conditions like MR, just to name a few. Some people are also schizophrenic. A lot of people are bipolar. But, you know, I just happen to know some people who act like mental health don't really exist. When, I mind you, some of their relatives have mental health issues that prevent them from going out to work at a job. And they are acting like these people who act like it doesn't exist. They're acting like that these people are just making it up and that they're lazy so they don't have to work. No, actually, that's not the case. It's just with those problems and that condition, unfortunately, they are not able to work because of that condition. It's not because they're lazy. But you know what? It's just interesting how a lot of people out there think that mental health ain't real when it is. So, you know, those people better figure that out quite quickly, that mental health is actually real. And, you know, people do have medical conditions and problems that prevent them from working. And, you know, some people who have mental health issues also, to help a lot of their problems, often get put on certain medications that make them gain a lot of weight. That's another thing with mental health issues and that type of thing. So, and it's just one of those things that it's very unfortunate, but it does happen. It does exist. It's real. So, for those people out there who are struggling with mental health issues, just know you're not alone. It's okay. If you want to talk about that here on my podcast, you can actually. It's not a big deal. You can please feel free to email the podcast, and I know that the email is in the description of the podcast. So I would encourage you to email the podcast, share your story, share your experience. I mean, you may be one of them people where you have a family member or someone that thinks that your mental health issues are not real when they actually are. And, I am also so sick and tired of people not thinking that certain things that are actually real are not. And you know what? Unfortunately, these things do exist. Okay, so if people didn't have these mental health issues and these problems, you're saying that for those people who doubt them or think that they're just being lazy, you really think that that's what you really think? Okay, so let me ask you this. If those people who think that mental health is not real, even though it is, well, what I'm about to ask you is, why are you doubting it? What I'd like to know. It's what I thought. So, you want to doubt it? Okay, whatever, be that way. But like I said, if you're someone who is in a family where that is going on, just know that you can feel safe here on this podcast and that it's okay. You can email in the podcast if you want to share something about that type of experience. You can. Just know that you're not alone. Just know that it's okay. You may be someone who may have anxiety or whatever. It's fine. It's just a condition. It's also qualified under a mental health condition, which is fine. But just know you're not alone with that. But a lot of people have mental health issues who are also mentally ill, majority of them people. But that's okay. But okay, so if these things did not really exist, then you're telling me that there would not be doctors, lawyers for these type of things. And you're also telling me there would not be therapists and counselors for this type of thing. Okay. So you're also telling me that the people who doubt that don't think that there's doctors who see this, that there's lawyers that deal with this type of stuff every day, judges, law enforcement, you name it. There also is therapists who deal with this stuff, counselors who deal with this stuff. But those people who have doubted all that and think that it's not real, well, you best check reality because it is real. That's another thing. So, it's just some people just do not know how to deal with people who have mental health issues or mental illness. And unfortunately, when people don't know how to deal with someone like that, they will be nothing but horrible to them. Trust me. They will say things like, "Oh, you look like this wacko from this TV show." Yeah. Or they'll say, "Boy, you're awful fat." Or just something just to really insult you, just to piss you the fuck off, Oh, yeah. Or they will sit there and come up with a cocky, smart remark just to be an asshole to you or to be a bitch to you. They do that to get you going, to piss you off, because in reality, they know that you have mental health issues. That's why they do it. What's the matter? People don't like what's being talked about? Well, fuck you. For those who don't like what's being talked about. You didn't think it was real? Too bad. So sad. I'm guessing that was a drop in viewers because people didn't like what was being talked about. Oh, too bad. For the ones that decided to leave. Aw, ain't that a shame? But there are also, for people who are not aware of this, yes, there are places that you can get services, you can get some type of services due to your mental health and your mental illness, to where you can go for a couple hours, a couple days a week and do some fun stuff. But sometimes the people that work in them places, certain ones, not everyone, sometimes will literally do things or say something just to get someone going, just to set them off, and then turn around and hide behind their boss when they know that they were in the wrong. And then they will sit there and try to act like they weren't there when that occurred and when it happened. Oh, yeah. Oh, trust me, I've seen it all. What haven't I seen, to be honest with you, with people's mental health issues and things? And I know it's real. I see it day in and day out. I know a lot of people who see it day in and day out. It's nothing new to me. So just keep that in mind. And you know what? I'm also sick and tired of the people that act like this type of stuff is not actually real when it is. I'm also tired of people who don't think that a lot of things that have been mentioned on my live streams for my podcast episodes that I talk about are actually not real, and that did not really happen to me. Okay, first of all, I'm going to stop you right there, because those things that were talked about did really happen, and they were never lies. It was all real. It was all true. And for those who doubted it, too bad. Yeah, just because it didn't happen to them, it does not mean that it's not real. That don't mean shit, does it? That's what I thought. Now, it's interesting how the viewers keep dropping. Whatever. It's fine. I mean, I understand your curiosity clicked for you to click on the video. That's fine. But like I said, if anyone wants to email the podcast, please feel free. I will read your email right here on the podcast. Email the podcast and just email the podcast and it'll be read here on the podcast. And maybe you'll even be on the podcast in a future episode. Now, speaking of a future episode of this podcast, now, there is going to be a future episode of this podcast that talks about something that a lot of you may have heard, something about this podcast supposedly being canceled. Well, that'll be discussed in a future episode of the podcast, more about that, which we will get into that in another episode. So not right now. But as of right now, further notice, the podcast is not actually canceled as of right now. It's just, like I said, that we will discuss that and cover that in another episode of this podcast. It'll be covered in a different episode. Anyway, now, I just wanted to cover that really quick, and well, that part of things. That way, just so you're all aware of what to expect. Now, I have a little story here. A lot of you may find this surprising. A long time ago, real long time ago, I want to say probably from 1960 to 1980s, there was a time before that when years ago, doctors would often, if you had mental health issues or were mentally ill or disabled or had MR or any type of anxiety issues or anything, a lot of time back in the day, they would often place you in an asylum like a TB hospital to cut you off from society. Because years ago, they really didn't know much about those things back then. And then it's just they didn't know much about it. Two, they also really didn't know how to deal with it then. And yes, that did all change eventually. And people were literally free to go if you escaped or you're just free to go. Because a lot of the places did end up being shut down due to a lot of bad things that they did. And also just due to the unsanitary conditions and whole list of awful things. And they were all later eventually shut down by the state. Thank God. And now, so after these places were all shut down, doctors and stuff started figuring out how to deal with people who had mental health issues, mental illness, disabled, anxiety conditions, things to that nature, and MR. Yes, doctors eventually did figure out how to deal with those people and how to handle all that stuff. Thank God. Yes, so basically something bad ended and then something good did end up coming out of majority of it, needless to say. And that's just something else I just wanted to go on about briefly. And yeah, I just wanted to go on about that for a minute, which I just did. So that's it. Yes, it's a different mic. If you're wondering, yes, I do still have that mic. The other mic that I usually use, yes, I still have it. But I ran into a little situation to where a mic that I had for my camera, it ended up having, the mic didn't end up having a problem, but something else on it ended up having a problem. So I got lucky and ended up getting this one. And this one works a lot better. I mean, there was nothing really wrong with the one that came with it, but this one is just something about it I end up liking better. And I do still have my little mini mic that you often see clipped to me sometimes. Just unfortunately right now I cannot find that. So, this one here that I'm using, it'll do. And this one that I'm using actually works like way better anyway. And it's more made for what I need it for. But it's just that, I mean, how would I say this? It works. It does exactly what I need it to do. It works way better. It's not, how would I say this? It works in a way of other things work the way that other things work is just something that I would be used to with it. The other one, unfortunately, worked a little different. So, needless to say. Anyway, now, Does anyone have anything to say? If you want to comment, I highly advise you to email the podcast for that, and that will actually be. I could actually read your comment if you email it. I'm not going to look your comment up on YouTube and read it that way. Nope. It's got to be done by email. Oh, and before anyone hits subscribe or anything, please make sure that you read the disclaimer up above in the description before you hit that subscribe button. Thank you. You'll be glad you did. Read that disclaimer. Well, anyway, so something else that I wanted to get into with this besides. So about about 2 months ago, I actually ran into a little issue. Well, I was at a location who has multiple stores throughout the area that I live in, like mostly in small towns. And anyway, I had asked one of the employees who works at this particular location, who I know outside of the place too. So she knows by now that, I walk in there and, I asked for an iced coffee, so she made it, no big deal. So one day, mind you, and the manager in there, well, this one lady ain't the manager, but who acts like she is and who thinks that she is, well, she decided that, and mind you, this lady has seen me in there multiple times, knowing exactly what I'll ask for every single time when I come in. And it's part of the job. And, she's made it for me before the iced coffee when I've asked her. And then one day, she decided that she was going to suddenly refuse to do her job. I said, okay, all right, I see how it is. Okay. All because of a self-serve station. Well, one day when I was using that self-serve station, there were no paper towels sitting there, and I was like, oh no. I said, well, that can't be good. And all of a sudden, I accidentally spilt the iced coffee, and, she just starts standing there and giving me these daggers. And I said, excuse me, can I get like some paper towels or some napkins or something and clean up this mess? No, and she just kept up being horrible and being horrible. So I was like, you know what? Whatever. So then I was like, all right, well, whatever. So eventually I get that problem taken care of. And then after that, a day or two later, I walked in there. She was working. And I was just like, can you make me a nice coffee, please? She just looking at me and going, well, we have self-serve. I go, what? She goes, well, we have self-serve. You'll have to use that. I am not making it for you. I refuse. Whoa. Okay, lady. Wow. Seriously? Then, I was hot. I was fuming by then. I said, okay, I see how it is. Whatever. Be that way. So, all of a sudden, next thing you know, this is where it gets good. So, I said, all right. So, she refused. I was like, okay, whatever. So, this other girl that I've seen in there a couple times before. So, I asked her, and she was like, oh, no, we have self-serve. So, okay. I said, yeah, I know that, but I don't want self-serve. I need you and want you to actually make it like you're supposed to. That's part of your job that you're refusing to do. So finally, someone else in there who's made it for me before finally made it without an issue. So then, so I went and filed a complaint because I said, oh, no. I know damn well part of that job is to make iced coffee without refusing to do it. Whether they have a self-serve or not is the policy. So I filed a complaint. So then I was in there right after, like a day or two after that complaint was filed. I say to the one girl in there that I know outside of the place, I said, yeah, well, just let you know, I filed a complaint about your coworker for being horrible to me. And so she goes back and tells her. I said, wow, what a bitch. Really? You had fucking nerve to tell your coworker what I told you in confidence? Really? Oh, yeah. Oh, so at this point, I was pissed when I found out. I said, okay. So, after that complaint, this woman that the complaint was filed about, someone there about it, like I said, a day or two later after that complaint was filed, I walk in. The second I walked in, she's glaring at me. I walked right up to her, took one look at her, and I said, no, I do not want self-serve. And you know what? You need to stop refusing to do your job when I know your job is to actually make iced coffee, whether or not if there is self-serve without refusing, and you can't do that. I don't play that game. And I said, you know what? If you don't like it, too bad, so sad, then quit your job if you're going to be like this to me. So the other girl that I know, I think made my iced coffee, and I was just like, I was like, yeah, bye, have a nice day, see ya, whatever. Then, the girl that I know outside of the place had nerve to go and say something to one of my relatives about it, about how I filed 2 complaints. Yeah, well, a glare like that from that employee, glaring at me like that, that's what led to the second complaint. So, unfortunately, they all still work there. So, management must have said something, but yet these people still work there and still have their jobs. But talk about nerve to go and tell one of my family members about it. That's wrong. First of all. And second of all. But it is what it is. And unfortunately, nothing can really be done about it. So whatever. So then, I was like, all right, whatever. So now I don't really bother going into it. Well, no. I did go into that location about a week or so later after that second complaint was filed. So I walked in. The male manager's there. And I actually went to high school. Or no. I actually went to school with the manager in high school. So, anyway. The male manager's there. And I know who he is, So, I walked in there and I was just like, hey, can someone just make me a nice coffee really quick? It's real simple. So what I want. He's like, oh, yeah. Oh, no problem. I'm like, okay, cool. I was like, what about self-serve? We just look yourself and went, He said, no, we're actually supposed to make iced coffee at customer's request, whether we have self-serve or not. I said, thank you. I thought to myself, thank you. That's what I thought too. The same thing. So needless to say, I have not been I haven't been back in there at that location after that. I have not been in there since, and I will not go in there. I refuse after all that. So anyway, so now another thing before I forget, the little mini mic that you have seen clipped to me before from time to time that I've used here on the podcast episodes before. Another problem that I forgot to mention that I ran into with that is it's just very small, and sometimes I've accidentally, while I was doing a recording live, I have accidentally before shut it off, the audio on it, like multiple times in a row in a YouTube video on the live stream for the podcast episodes. So actually, I'm kind of glad I lost it, and can't find it right now. I mean, if it turns up, it turns up. If it don't, if it turns up, it does. If it don't, it don't. No big deal. It wasn't all that expensive anyway. But like I said, this mic right here will actually do just fine. So anyway, so that's the story on those issues and those things. So anyway, for example, there are also people who don't think that other topics that I talk about on here are real, like such as the alien encounter abduction that happened to me when I was 12 years old in a single wide 1970s mobile home trailer. That's real. That's very real. And yes, that has happened. And the paranormal encounter experiences that I also have had in different places that I have lived, that's real too. I never made any of those things up. And a comment that I had gotten a while back on here on YouTube during one of the live podcast episodes, something about people asked how long I've been tranny, or how long I've been a transgender. Hate to tell you the reality. Sorry, but I'm not actually transgender. So I don't know what that comment was about. I mean, thank you for the comment. It was interesting. I never heard a comment like that before, but yeah, I mean, it's interesting, I thought it was a cool comment. I was like, oh, okay, cool. I mean, I totally support that, like, well, it's just, I mean, I know, some people have that thing to where, they want to change, hey, I mean, if you're a person who's LGBT, it's cool. No judgment here at all. It's okay to be LGBT. It's not a problem at all. No judgment on this channel. No judgment at all. I mean, hey, you are what you are. If you're lesbian, if you're gay, if you're bisexual, if you're transgender, hey, I mean, it is what it is. It's okay. It's cool. Like I said, no judgment here on this channel. This channel is not about judging people. This is a judgment-free channel on YouTube. It's a judgment-free podcast zone. Just know that. Like I said, there's no judgment here at all. None whatsoever. Like I said, if any of those topics, anything I just said, if you want to email into the podcast about that, feel free. I will read it right here, right now on the podcast. And it would not be a big deal. So, I've also had people in my life who have said to me, "Oh, well, ghosts, hauntings, demons, stuff like that. Oh, all those things aren't real, that really don't exist." And I said to myself, okay, yeah, that's fine, but it may not exist to you. It may not be real to you, but it's real to me. And a lot of people have said things like, oh, well, that's just because you believe in it. Okay, first of all, and second of all, yes, I mean, there are some people out there who are still skeptical about that type of thing, and it's fine. That's fine. It's just unfortunately, some people who are skeptical about that often change that really quick after an experience has happened to them. But whether if you believe in it or not, it does not mean that it's not actually real. There is a chance that it could actually be real. But a lot of people would disagree with me for saying that. And for those who disagree, I don't care. But I don't disagree with it. And a lot of you probably also don't know this, but when I was in high school, I had this. I've had just these educated mentors, teacher figures. The main teacher, the assistant teacher. Those two were horrible. Now the teacher's aide lady, she was nice. She was the nicest one out of all of them, if you ask me. Oh, that's right. So I'll explain this quickly too. So there was this time to where in high school, about I want to say ninth grade or so. So one day the teacher says to us, okay, kids. Today we are going to do an assignment on what you want to do with your life someday or something, or whenever after graduation or whatever, or by the time you're an adult in your life. I was like, okay, let's do the assignment. And so I put something about. I said, well, someday I would like to, if I can, if I ever have the equipment to do this, I would like to make low budget independent horror films. Like some of the biggest names in movies in the movie industry today, like some of the biggest creators. So I put that. So after I put that, she looks at me. Didn't like what I put. Needless to say. And she's like, well, that's not real reality of things. That's never going to happen. You don't know that. Okay. And look who happens to have a YouTube short of a little movie that they made. It's not the full movie. It's just the beginning of it. That's on my YouTube channel. It's called The Definitive Nightmare, which you can find on my YouTube channel. Be sure to watch that. And I will see you all in part 2. Bye.